Okay, so this is the edited video for the mistake I made in the initial video, and I didn't have time to actually like splice it and actually edit it, so it's just a supplemental video. Okay, as I mentioned, the algebra part, the algebraic part, the completing the square part, was fine in the original video, but I made a mistake when I found the center, and that influenced the entire rest of the answer. So I'll start from the beginning again, though. We're going to complete the square on this equation here because it's not in a form that we know how to graph. Okay, so I'm going to write that down here where I have room. Complete the square. All right, so we've got x squared. I'm going to rearrange it, plus 6x. I'm going to leave a little space here for when I complete the square. Plus 9y squared minus 90y. Leave another space. And equals negative 225. Now you'll notice something a little different about ellipses than about circles is that we have this 9 here. We have this coefficient of y squared. It's possible to have a coefficient of x squared also. So we are going to have to deal with that when we complete the square and factor it out. Because when we complete the square, we need, if you remember from Algebra 2, we need a coefficient of 1. Okay, so hopefully by now it's pretty clear that we're going to add 9 to complete the square on the x's, which means we have to add 9 over here as well. And to complete the square on the y's, again, it's a little trickier, okay, because see here, we've got to actually factor this 9 out. So we've got 9 times y squared minus 10y plus, now we're going to complete the square on this here, right? So we're going to use the negative 10 to complete the square. So we're actually going to add 25 to complete the square. But where we have to be careful is when we go ahead and add on the right side of the equation here, we have to notice that we're actually adding 9 times 25 to both sides. Right? So, right, because we factored out the 9, but really we didn't just add 25 to the left side, we added 9 times 25, which is 225. So I'm going to add 225 over here. Bring this down a little bit. Okay, so when I rewrite my equation, I'll have x plus 3 squared plus 9 times y minus 5 squared equals, those two 25s are going to cancel, so equals 9. Okay, but this still isn't a form that we can graph, right? Because we know that our equations, our standard form of the equation has to equal 1. So we're going to divide everything here by 9. And our standard equation is going to be x plus 3 squared over 9 plus y minus 5 squared over 1. I'm going to keep that 1 there just to remind me. And that all equals 1. Okay, I'm going to actually rewrite this equation up here, up at the top so I can see it. So our equation was x, make sure I get it right this time, x plus 3 squared over 9, over 9, plus y minus 5 squared over 1 equals 1. Right, make sure again that I got that right. Y minus 5 squared over 1 equals 1. Okay, so now the center, this is where I made the mistake in the first video, the center is negative 3, 5. Right, negative 3, 5. Okay, and we have our a value here, right, our major axis value, our a value, or a squared is 9. And I'll write this here, a squared equals 9. So that means a is 3. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3 to the right, 1, 2, 3 to the left. And it looks like we have vertices at negative 6, 5, and 0, 5. And then our minor axis, right, our b squared value is 1. So that makes b 1. really plus or minus 1, right? So we're going to go up 1, down 1, and we have our ellipse here. So our co-vertices, or our other two vertices, are -3, 6, and -3, 4. And again, this should make sense if we look at our center and we understand what these A and B values mean, right? This A value tells us how far from the center is our vertex, right, in either direction, and the B value tells us how far from the center is our other vertices from the center, right, in either direction. So if we take a look here, see this -3, 5, and these 2 points here, right, -3, 5, 6, and 4 are both 1 unit from 5. And here, -6 and 0 are both 3 units from -3, right? So those A and B values do come into play here. So you can do this in either direction. You could graph it to find the vertices and identify them, or you should be able to identify the vertices, assuming they're integers, right from the from using the center. But either way, it doesn't matter to me. Okay, and so now the foci, we're going to need to use our formula, c squared equals a squared minus b squared. Right, so c squared is going to equal 9 minus 1, which is 8. So that means c is equal to the square root of 8, which is 2 root 2. So it's really plus or minus 2 root 2. Okay, so our foci are going to be along the major axis here, right? And they're 2 root 2 units from the center. So they're 2 root 2 units to the right of the center, 2 root 2 units to the left of the center. So our foci have the coordinates -3 plus or minus 2 root 2, comma 5, right? So that's 2 coordinates there. -3 plus 2 root 2, comma 5, and -3 minus 2 root 2, comma 5. Okay, so that should fix my errors from the other video.